Girls Gone Wild with Tando Mtondi on Trans Africa Radio.
The WhatsApp line is open all the time. +2779 2544 329 on Twitter @TransAfrica872 @Tando_Mtondi Umwelase Omuhle there. I'm happy to read your tweets. Just tell me who you are if you send a WhatsApp message so that I can actually help you. And if you hashtag GGW, I'll be able to find anything that you have to say much sooner. When you think of Polokwane and hip hop, now we are speaking about South African hip hop right now, and we will get into the rest of the continent just now. But I'd like to just speak about Polokwane, for instance. I mean, we speak about Cape Town and we speak about Joburg, and that's hip hop culture in this country. Other provinces, is there something there in Polokwane that we don't know about? A hidden gem, an industry that's kind of trying?
It's crazy because I feel like a few years ago you would not speak about Polokwane and hip hop at all. It was very like house dominated, but slowly I think in small towns and like cities all over the country there's so much talent that's out there and people are really putting the work. So I think Polokwane is, Durban massively as well, and just like every random city out there there's immense talent.
And the plug in Africa, right? The African continent. Is that where we're going? Is that the plan? Are we going, overseas, completely out of the border? When you think of the plug in about 5-10 years time, how do you intend to kind of bring together the different hip hop sounds that do exist, because there isn't just one sound,
completely,
right? Do you have plans to kind of bring that into the magazine and make that very clear?
I think the one thing that I really feel the plug is that it's not just a publication. It almost feels like an ethos that celebrates culture as a whole, and a platform. And I think at the moment it's great because it's within publishing and it's online media, but I think there's so many other spaces that can exist beyond to capture all those nuances within hip hop. So I think definitely, to go continental or international would be incredible. And I don't know, just really focus on it not just being a magazine. Like, we want to build other properties as well, so it feels like every part of the culture is captured by the plug. Okay, and that's how you take over an industry. You basically hit the whole supply chain, right? The different aspects of it, and you dominate.
And this is your love. This is your love job, but you have intentions of doing it full time.
If I could, absolutely, that is the goal, and I trust the universe is going to make it happen.
Yeah,
I really think. The way we've grown this year and the reception has been incredible. When people speak about us, it's in the same breath as like a Hype magazine or even Slicker or like Elle and other publications. We've been compared to publications that have been around for like years and years, if not decades, like actual institutions, and we've only been around for a year. So I feel like we have only scratched the surface of what the plug is going to do. We have so much planned. So I think like a year to 5 years from now, like the plug will be the voice of culture in SA and beyond.
Now I have a WhatsApp here from somebody who didn't give me their name, guys. Don't drop the ball. Always give me your name so that I can tell everyone who you are. And they say, hi, please ask your guests in studio how they started a magazine. I think we asked this kind of earlier, because I think the whole thing of an online magazine sounds insane. When I think of magazine, I always think in my hand,
physical, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess the question would probably be more like, how? Like, what? Like, where do you even start?
Completely. So initially the idea, I think we had this idea about, it was 2013. And the game it didn't feel like ready. Data concerns, the way people consumed media and consumed stories and content wasn't quite the same as it is now. So this year or last year, we actually saw that there was an appetite. Beyond that, funding and finance is always a massive challenge, particularly something you're trying to convince people as well. So I think for us, it was just, literally went out, got the site, bought the domain name, got a few people as freelancers. A lot of work was happening. Because if you don't have a full team, a lot of responsibility then becomes on you and the few team members that you do have. And I think, we really just try to target our base or our social network that we had at the time. I think those people really bought into that, and slowly, organically, it started, spreading beyond that. And I think it's perception as well, because technically it's a website compared to a lot of other websites, but the content, I think that the idea was that South Africans don't consume long form content online, and I think we've changed our perception because our articles are 2,000, 4,000 words and people love that.
That's incredible.
Beyond that, no one locally was actually just doing a magazine covers online, so we started that as well. And I think that's very cost effective as well, and that's how we've been able to navigate decreasing costs while still being hella impactful.
So we definitely can conclude that it is much cheaper than print media.
Completely. And I think also the idea of print media is, you live in a social media age. It's hard with print. You have to plan about 3 months ahead. By the time you drop it, it's not current anymore. Your topics aren't. So I think the benefit that we have is that something can be topical today and we can jump on it.
Okay.
Or it can be topical tomorrow and we can be like, we can drop it while it's still hot. And I think I love that. So it can always
like
be so we always like very current, and I think being part in important conversations that are happening beyond just us.
What have been some of your challenges as a woman first? We'll speak about your human challenges, but as a woman, besides having to get people to take you seriously, besides it being a male-dominated industry, what are some of the challenges that you're just like, you know what, if I was a guy, I wouldn't even have to endure this?
Yeah, I think you touched on it, like the respect thing is a big thing from both men and women. I think people trying to navigate being nice and being very professional and not being a bitch is a big thing, because when you are very certain, people call you a bitch. People don't respect like when you give them deadlines. People don't respect when you're trying to plan things. So that has been a big challenge as well. I think as well the expectation, like we had Cool Cat on the cover last year, and I didn't realize. And I think that was probably like one of our most controversial, not even one, that was the most controversial cover that we had ever dropped. And the idea was just that, he had pleaded guilty to sexual assault, and he had not explained within the culture. I mean, he went on an LA and we were like, but you're a hip hop artist, you are within the culture, you owe the culture explanation. And I think a lot of people did not look at it like that. Was absolutely dragged and criticized for giving him a platform, and that, it was perceived that we were supporting him, and people were like, you're a woman,
you should know better.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that was like a learning curve, just dealing with that and understanding that, and then being able to have conversations where we are having conversations now about like why males in entertainment aren't being held accountable for sexual assault and things like that. So I think challenges like that have definitely opened my eyes and made me a better editor, I feel.
What would you change? Would you change anything about that specific feature with OK Malum Cool Cats? Would you change anything about it?
I think what needed to happen was that there wasn't a dialogue about it afterwards. I think there needed to be just, what are your thoughts? What do you guys think about this? How do you guys feel about it? So I think that just that there wasn't a dialogue, and that context was removed about the fact that there wasn't dialogue.
Okay.
And I understood the criticism. I think that was like fair criticism. So I wasn't mad about it, but I think some people again were just like, the attacks were so personal to me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but
if they're personal to you, is it people who knew you?
No, people would just be like people weren't criticizing the plug, it was criticizing me in my personal capacity.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And some of the things that they were saying, it wasn't a critique on the job that I did, it was like personal attacks on and I was like, okay, cool. But again, it was a learning experience, and it's taught me so much. So going forward, I've learned to just consider a lot of more things when we are like, okay, who's going to be on the cover? Should we have them? Why not? And things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, being an editor, it's actually not easy. It's kind of being a CEO of a magazine,
completely.
Right? So if people are coming off the magazine, most likely they're coming off. I mean, we've seen recently with the Huffington Post, when there was that little bit of I don't even know what to call it.
No,
it was very
debacle. I don't know.
They gone straight for the editor, right?
Completely.
So it really is kind of you carry the brand even in your personal capacity.
100%.
And that is something that advertising tries to do in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah. So did you never see it coming, or do you find yourself now having to think to yourself, okay, Caron, if you mess up, it's on Caron, not on the plug.
Yeah, completely.
It's completely on Caron.
I've learned to understand, and I think I saw when that had happened. Yeah, I think we knew and understood it was going to be controversial, but I think the thing that got to me was the idea that we were supporting him, which was not the case. But I think, definitely I've learned everything that happens, it's on me. I take every bullet. I get dragged all the time. We drop lists. We just dropped a blogger list and I was dragged for that. So I think I've
okay.
People just, but it's part of my job. Like, I need to take responsibility. I need to take bullets when shots are being, fired at me. So that's part of the job.
Okay, and let's talk about this very frankly. Is there money in digital media? Is there money? Let's be honest, because we're not exactly the United States, right?
Completely.
Bloggers can make full-time livings from blogging.
Completely.
So by the time that you're releasing it, a full-on publication, the advertisers are there, they're lining up. Is it possible in South Africa right now? Is that where corporates who would be advertising, are their minds there? where it should be?
I don't think they've caught up as yet.
Okay.
I think we are part of probably early adopters. I think we're going to be people that like 5 years down the line, you guys are going to look back and be like, okay, cool, they're part of the people who actually paved the online media space. So at the moment, I don't think there is real money in it, but I think the potential is there if it's done properly.
Absolutely.
And I think at the end of the day, this is a business. It's a passion project. We love it, but we're trying to run it as a business as well. A good startup takes minimum like 3 years just to break even, completely. So I think there are challenges, but I think if we're able to break through that and make brands understand and corporates understand why this is a good way to actually speak to the culture and like leverage their brands, there will be like a much bigger industry a few years down the line.
I have a WhatsApp here from Livy, and Livy asks if you studied anything after psychology to kind of align yourself with what you do at the Plug.
I didn't actually. I probably should have. I wish I did. But I mean, it's super busy, working 2 jobs is crazy. So I actually haven't studied anything. I definitely would still like to go back and study. I think English is important for me and I really love that. But I think more than that, it's not just about language alone. It's just really understanding, because at the end of the day, you're building a brand. More than anything, the Plug is a brand in itself. So I think just like brand building or anything around that, strategic outlook, those are things I'd actually like to pursue still.
Okay, all right, because I mean, I think one of the most important things about this question is that anybody who is anywhere who might have an interest in digital media might feel like, hey, I need to study something.
No,
right?
Completely.
Yeah, but if it's the passion has to be then, like you said, you work 3 times as hard as anybody around you
100%.
to make sure that that the fact that you didn't study is not kind of what's holding you back.
Completely. And I mean, obviously, like education is so important. I'll never ever discourage anyone from like trying to further their education. But I do think it's 2017. The world has changed so much. If you're passionate about something, you can go out and make it happen. Yeah. You don't need validation in terms of like a piece of paper or anything. If you put in the work, you can make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, how do you sell this to people? I mean, because my thing's the biggest. We're all selling something, whether we like to admit it or whether we don't,
completely.
Right? And no matter what space you're playing in, you're all selling something. And here you are with this online publication. It's not Hype Magazine. It's not Slicker.
Yeah.
It's the Plug. And you're a black woman. And when you walk into people and you say, "I'd like you to take me seriously," I mean, how do you even sell it? Do you dress a certain way? Do you speak a certain way? Do you have a great presentation behind you? Like, how are you doing this?
So I think initially when we started, the idea was just like the work has to be on such an impeccable level, and that's really what sets us apart from everyone else. Like the standard that we are at, I feel it's international. Like if you go into Complex, if you go into High Snobiety, or L Magazine, whatever it is, that's the standard that we're operating as. And I think when you start out, it's very difficult to find people that are going to buy into your vision. But once they see the work and the brand build itself and the quality is amazing and people actually resonate with it, people come to you naturally and they understand what.
Wow.
So I think the biggest thing is building the brand itself and making sure that it's on a world-class level. Then the work speaks for itself.
So are we basically heading towards a time when, I mean, there cannot be enough emphasis put on branding, on what a brand is? Is that where we're heading? We're like, consumers literally associate something with the brand first, and then they're willing to pop out the cash or whatever they need to get it.
100%. And I think just the important things about brand as well is that it has to be authentic and it has to identify with that person. Like they need to feel a personal connection to it. And I think that's why the Plug has worked so well. It resonates with people. They connect to it because it reflects a part of themselves that we haven't seen. Like South African media hasn't been a reflection of like black 20-something person, their mentality, the hunger, the struggle, what we go through, what we like, what we don't like. And I feel like the Plug is one of the first platforms to actually do that, and that's why people resonate with it and appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Are you struggling with millennials, or is it okay because you are one? And the reason I ask is because I think I've read countless articles about how tricky it is to sell anything to a millennial, because we're asking questions that people haven't asked before. And I mean, if you go and you do study something like advertising or you work in advertising, the people that you report to may also not quite be in tune with what millennials are thinking or doing. Right?
Yes.
So they may be struggling with it too. So it kind of limits your ability to be able to be like, guys, I know these people, I understand them. Are you struggling with us? I mean, are we a tricky kind of demographic to navigate around?
I actually don't think so. Maybe because I am one as well, and I've been in the space for a very long time. And the approach that I have, I mean, I know the criticisms and the questions I ask about other media publications and stories that they put out in content. So my approach is just being very open. Like, it's just like, what would I like to see as well? Like, what do I feel like there's a gap that no one's discussing? And I think people, it's just literally tapping into existing conversations. And I think if you are part of the culture, you understand what those conversations are and what people want more of, as opposed to being detached from it and trying to. And I think that's the biggest thing as well. We're never trying to speak to people. We're speaking with people. We're trying to have the conversation. And I think that's why it's so inclusive and it's successful, because everyone feels like they're part of the plug in some capacity.
Some way or another. Alrighty, so we're going to play one song coming out of Ghana. Becca, you and I. The WhatsApp line is open all the time. +2779 2544 329. On Twitter @TransAfrica872 @Tando_20. Umwelase Omuhle there. I'm happy to read your tweets. Just tell me who you are if you send a WhatsApp message so that I can actually help you. And if you hashtag GGW, I'll be able to find anything that you have to say much sooner than if so wait, sorry, I'm just reading a tweet from Caron earlier that says, okay, I'm lost. Were you lost? Wait, what happened? Who's been based in 3 different provinces with 3 different cultures essentially in South Africa, and here she is heading up the plug as an editor, as the person who is the queen slayer, but also the person who takes all the punches.
Oh man,
all the punches, right? Yeah. So tell me, in terms of young women, right? It could be a girl sitting anywhere. I mean, we're throughout the whole African continent, so it could be someone in Lagos, could be somebody in Harare, or somebody in Johannesburg, and they're just wondering, like, what does it take? You know, like, what does it take to be able to be an editor and of a startup, right? Yeah. And just to own that space, to own the whole experience.
I think more than anything, it's just really believing in yourself. I know it sounds so cheesy and so cliche, but I think as Black women, our voices have been silenced for such a long time, and I think we've lost that, and we've lost confidence in ourselves. So I think for me, it was just really starting to realize that, you know, my voice is valid, even in spaces where people don't think it is, or people don't treat me as it is. Like, I trust myself so much, and I trust my vision and what I'm trying to achieve. And I think beyond anything, if you just have and like you were saying, audacity as well. If you have the confidence, if you have an incredible vision, just be brave and be audacious. Like, speak to people that you don't think are in your space. Go approach people. Like, connections are so important.
Absolutely.
And I think just the people that you surround yourself with are also like essential to your success. But yeah, I think, like, be brave, be audacious, knock on doors. Doors are going to close. You're not going to succeed immediately, but keep trying. If you love something, if you're passionate about it, I think just be relentless, be audacious, and just be persistent about it. Eventually the doors will open for you.
And how will you know that you have achieved all that you wanted to achieve with the plug? How will you know?
Wow, okay, amazing question. Wow, I don't know. For me, I feel like culture is always evolving. I can't fathom a moment where I'll be like, okay, cool, we've done enough, or this is it, you know what I mean? And I think, like I was saying, just because the vision is so massive and it's like a long term, I think that we'll just keep building on different platforms to just get bigger and bigger. And I think, why not own like a media empire?
Yeah.
Like, for me, this is like, when I say this is just a very small part of that, like it's just beginning, an essential part of it, which I appreciate a lot. But I think 30, 40 years from now, I'm still going to be doing this in some capacity, but just like massive. Yeah.
Still hip hop?
I love hip hop so
really, because
much.
you might be that Danny now in hip hop at that time. But of course, I mean, yeah,
100%. I think it won't be exclusive to hip hop. I think it will evolve. Like, I've always loved fashion as well, and just like culture as a whole. I think having conversations as well about Black people, about racism, about women and challenges that we face. So I think the different avenues that like actually have those conversations will evolve and build as well. So I think it will be all inclusive, but hip hop based as well.
Any dreams to be in front of the camera?
Any dreams of
being in front of the camera?
Oh,
yeah. Have you thought of that?
Oh my God, no. Not at all. No, I can't fathom that. No.
You can't fathom?
No,
at all.
Behind the scenes is very comfortable.
Okay.
I think it's my forte. Yeah,
really.
I'm gonna trust the universe. If it happens, it happens. But I can't imagine that at all.
Are you serious? Because I can completely see it. That's why I asked.
Oh wow.
No.
I've never ever thought about. I mean, I'm open to anything, but I've never thought about it.
Really?
I think I'm very uncomfortable in front of the camera, so it's not something I would
Really? So
actively
like
pursue
nothing, no modeling, no, nothing. Caron?
No, I've never modeled. I've always been I want to do it at some stage, but like a very short. Beyond that, TV, anything else.
Yeah, well, I had business salons in studio once. She said to me, babe, there's no money in front of the camera. Anyway, she said, you have to be behind it. That's where the money is anyway.
Completely.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like just power and real influence, and I think just being a decision maker. Like I want to be a power player in the game, and for me, being behind the scenes facilitates that more than being in front. And not the same being in front of the camera does, and I think we all have different passions, and they all serve a purpose. But for me, I think I want to make power moves.
You want to make power moves,
yes.
and that can only happen behind the scenes, to be honest. And it's okay. It really is okay. But I mean, something that you should think about. That I'm throwing it right out there.
Oh my God,
something that should be considered. And Caron, let's talk a little bit more about just urban culture and pop culture, and the different ways that, I mean, what even makes up urban culture? I can imagine anybody sitting wherever they're sitting and they're just like, you guys keep talking about this culture.
Completely.
Like, what are you guys even talking about? Let's talk a little bit more about the culture. What does that even mean?
That is so complex, and it's a question I get asked so many times. And truly, as the editor of a quote-unquote urban culture publication, I actually don't know how to define the culture myself. And I hate putting a definition to it just because I feel like it's so broad and it's so inclusive of so many things that it's difficult to actually pin it down. But I think, for me, the culture is everything. It's music, it's clothes, it's more than anything. I feel like it's an outlook, it's a mentality, it's an ethos, and the way you dress and the music you listen to and where you hang out, they all align, or kind of support the idea of this culture. And I really think in the most simplest way, it's an outlook.
Yeah, and I mean, it's basically trying not to put it in a box, because you can't put it in a box.
It's so
right?
tough. I mean, it's slang. It's it's so many things. Yeah, for me, it's super like difficult to define that.
Yeah, and well, does Africa have its own kind of culture? I mean, especially in terms of hip-hop, where it is a genre that is predominantly from the States, and we have adopted, and it really has grown, I think, probably in the last 20, 25 years. We've seen the culture really, really grow. But, I mean, is it possible for us to create our own kind of identity that is not necessarily linked to the States, or that doesn't define success by the recognition from the States?
And I think that's such an important point. And I think we've done it for a lot of times, where we only feel like we're valid or like really have reached a level of success when we do get international validation. But I think just looking at like how many international artists are drawing inspiration from Africa, from sound to dance to dress, be it Beyonce, being like a lot of contemporary hip-hop artists at the moment, and I think we really just need to we are building our own culture, and I think we just need to support it more. But definitely the potential is there, and I think for growth is it's massive.
I mean, somebody might say to you, well, you look at the people who are doing really well in the hip hop space right now, from an AKA to a Kuli Chana, and they all have these endorsements, right?
Yeah.
Which is insane, because what it actually means is that, like, brands, for instance, an alcohol brand sees hip hop culture as an avenue to make sales.
Completely.
Right?
Completely.
Is that the way it's all heading, where kind of like the big money does come from the endorsements, to be quite honest? Are endorsements kind of the affirmation that we need, or the only way that we can kind of pump money back into this industry?
It's so complex. For someone who works in this industry, I mean, I'm always very conflicted about it, because I've seen brands that have no real love for the culture, for hip-hop as a whole, and it's not just about tapping into a certain market. It feels almost like exploiting that market because you're trying to sell something.
Yeah.
And then when they're done, they go back, they get their sales, they've spoken to emerging black middle class.
KPI ticked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think there are other brands that really have supported hip-hop for like decades in the culture, and they give back as well. And for brands like that, I'm open to it, and I do think it's great because they bring in money, they're building the culture as well, they're supporting it, and they're also getting what they want out of it. So I really wish that we get to a point where it's beyond just that's the only way we can kind of sustain ourselves as a culture financially. But at the moment, it's a peak of brand endorsements.
I've never heard anyone say that a brand could exploit the culture, to kind of take what they want out of it and leave it with not being developed. Are you willing as editor to close the door on certain people and just be like, no?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't feel like you're genuinely trying to align yourself with what we're trying to do.
And I think, like you're saying, like audiences are so discerning now. They can see when something is not authentic, and they're going to call you out on it, rightfully so. And I feel like just as someone who speaks about like the culture and trying to move it forward and it being something that we love so much, you have to protect it as well. And I think it's important to not allow people into that space that are not there for the right reasons. So
And are there any women that you can think of right now that you could be like, she's playing her role, she's doing it, of course we could speak of the usual faces that we see everywhere, but I don't know if they completely contribute to the culture in the sense that we're in the context that we're speaking about it. Are there any women that you can think of from Africa, of course Rihanna would be in there because she is an influencer in that vibe, but
completely.
In Africa, are there any women who are really just doing the thing and they really are kind of letting women have their voice in the culture?
I think I love Asanda Sasani. I mean, she's not like exclusive to hip hop. It's within the space of fashion. But I love how she's given a voice to just African talent through she's with Elle now and Destiny and the whole Indalo Media Group. So I love her so much because I feel like that is so important for her to constantly push that. I love Boogie My Boy as well. I mean, she's a stylist and I think it just shows how you don't have to be the owner of a publication or someone who's like a celebrity to actually make a difference. If what you're doing is so authentic, you can really make a difference. And as she does it with just the visual representation of a culture which a lot of people aren't getting right. So I think those two are amazing. There's so many talented people. It's so tough. I'm always on Twitter, I'll see so many black women doing amazing things, and some of them are just they're bloggers or they're influencers or they have their own company or startup, and I'm like, you out here killing it, but in a way that you're opening the door for the next black woman who's going to follow you. And I think that's important.
And there's many women who aren't opening the doors for other black women, unfortunately, and it's something that we definitely need to kind of be very cognizant of, the fact that not every black woman feels like her place in any position of power should necessarily be trying to empower the next person. Right?
100%.
How are you in your own personal journey making sure that you are not this girl?
I think it's just because I understand how difficult my struggle has been in both the industries that I work in. It's been just really important, and I think also again just not seeing people like myself being represented. I want to see us represented. I want to see our voices heard. So I think the plug has been an amazing avenue to just celebrate amazing, talented, passionate women, tell their stories as well, and that's helped inspire so many other people. I feel like you're out there and you're so passionate and you have goals, and you discourage sometimes because you feel like, can I do this? I don't know. And then you hear someone else's story and you see their struggle and what it took for them to get to the point you're like, okay, cool, that's validation. I can actually do this.
I can do this. Yeah. And how is your kind of your family and how they've embraced the fact that you are literally, I don't think you understand that you really are on this route, and you look like you're on your own at this point. But how do you tell your parents, mom, dad, listen, I think I'm going to do this and it's going to be hip hop culture, and yes, I'm a girl and I'm going and this is what I'm going to do?
So I think firstly, I have to say there is a team that's just incredible. There's no way the plug would be what it is without the publisher, the designers, the photographers, the freelance writers. Everyone just puts in so much time and effort, and they all love what we do so much. So I think really the plug is nothing without them. Beyond that, with my family, I just they don't get it.
Okay, and I can imagine. I don't know how to explain it either.
And black families, and my dad's the 60-year-old black man. He's just what are you doing? Listen to this hip hop thing. He doesn't get it, but he's just because I think he sees how fulfilled I am by what I do and how happy I am, and just it brings me so much joy. So he supports that so much, and he's just at a point where he's like, I don't get it, but I love you, and you look like you moving forward.
You look, know what you're doing.
Exactly. So but I think beyond that, it's just I think love from women like you. They're people that I've never met in my life, and they'll just be props to you and show love, and they just support the plug so much. So I think it's people like you that make such a difference, and just keep reaffirming that okay, cool, I'm on the right track, we're doing the right thing here. So that's incredible. People want platforms that are going to celebrate and support local and African music, stories, fashion. There's this renaissance happening where it's let's embrace Africa again. So I think that's incredible, and I think more people should be doing that. Let's support ourselves.
Alrighty, and now if anyone wants to find you, Caron, if anyone wants to find the plug, if anyone feels like they might have something to contribute or something they'd like to learn from you, how can people find you?
Okay, cool. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Caron Williams. That's CARON Williams. My email is in my bio on both those platforms, so literally just hit me up. I'm terrible with emails, but just be persistent. I will get to you. I get so much emails. But I think, I love people just like hitting us up and like, collaborating or proposing things. And I think we all need to just work together as a whole to like move everyone forward. So yeah, you can find me online. Also, you can check out the plug. So it's theplugmag.co. And all our details are on there as well if you want to contact us.
Alrighty. And any last dying words, if you could just make sure that a black girl sitting wherever she is on the African continent, anything that you would want them to know right now, especially during Women's Month, what would that be?
I think really it's just, again, like believe in yourself. If you're passionate, if you're hungry, if you have a vision that you have for yourself and things that you want to do, reach out to people. Like, you'll be so amazed how open people are. Like, people want to support each other. Like, I feel like black women right now are doing incredible things. So I think like reach out to the people that you want. Just stay focused. And yeah, man, like, I sound again cliche, but really your dreams are valid.
Yeah.
Like, you really, I think, in the space where you can do anything that you want to do. So yeah.
And we have social media, which makes your life a little easier.
You'd be stalk who you need to stalk, hit them up until they say yes. So but whatever that passion project is, that love, that thing that you want to do and you're scared, trust the universe will make a way. Like, go do it. Like, I think the one thing as well, like when the plug was started, I was like, I'm not ready, I've never done this. You will never be ready. Just dive in, you'll learn on the job, and it's the most like fulfilling thing ever.
Alrighty, thank you, Caron.
This is Trans Africa Radio.